Hello and welcome back to Riverside Farms. So I've picked up pretty much just after where I left you last time. I've just been down to the store and I have leased from them this milling machine. Just hop out, have a little look at it. So basically at the front you've got these two drums which will spin, and they're kind of mostly designed for like cutting into a silage pit, but I figured actually I'd probably have a good go here with this manure pile, so we'll kind of cut into it, and what it does is it takes it through the back here, then throws it up the tube and then launches it kind of forage harvester-esque into whatever trailer you've got, so in our case our manure spreader. So let's just get this running and get our manure spreader filled, and then we can go and do some manure spreading. Right, we're getting going here on the first field now. There's only the two small fields, so we might need a top up. We might get most of it done with this first load, if I'm honest. So I'm gonna keep pottering around with this and we will see how much we get done. Obviously you can see the few weeds starting to grow down at the very bottom of this field. We'll have to wait and see how they progress and see what we do with them. The issue is I probably can't drive very much on the crop with this tractor. That is the disadvantage to this size of tractor. There's no narrow tyres for it, which will stop us from hurting the crops. A little crash into the fence there, whoops. Right, I'm going to get on with this so I don't crash into any more fences. Hello again. Well, with those fields planted and fertilised for the first time, I didn't really feel like I had an awful lot left to do. So I went down to the store and grabbed this weed trimmer, and I thought I'd have a go at strimming away some of these weeds in the yard. Right. Get her running and approach a weed. Oh, well that's really quite effective actually. Let's try another one. About this one over here. Go away, weed. one over here. Woo! This is absolutely fantastic. And I love as well how it's just leaving nothing behind to clear up. I need a magic weed trimmer like this for home, I think. Right. I'm going to carry on with this, and I will see you when we are done. Right, well that took quite a bit of time. It is now nearly dinner time, but as you can see, the entire yard is now clear. Excellent news. So, I think I'm going to call it here for this evening. I will see you bright and early in the morning. Good morning. I have just come down to field 11 because one of our neighbours has asked me to do a cultivating contract for their field. Looks like we've got a crop in at the moment. Give me a second. Ah, it's oilseed radish. Right. So, I am going to be doing a contract cultivating this cover crop in for one of our neighbours. So, I am just going to get on with this. I've come out to do a couple of contracts this morning. Basically because I looked at the state of the field and it is just covered in weeds. So we're going to have to do something about that. So, as you can see, the money's already dropped because I've bought a sprayer so that we can spray with herbicide. I could run it on the back of the fence. What I'm going to try and do is do a couple of contracts so that I can get a little bit more money and we can buy a very small tractor to run that will just have a much smaller footprint than this fence, and it won't damage the crops as much. So that's the plan for this morning. I'm going to cultivate this cover crop in, then I think there's someone who wants some slurry spread on their field, so I will run and do that for them. So I will catch up with you in a little while. Well, that wasn't bad. It took its time with the cultivating job, but it has effectively paid for the sprayer, which was quite nice. And so now I'm just out doing this slurry job just to get a little bit more in the bank. After we've bought the tractor, we'll need to buy a bit of herbicide as well. We have had confirmation from Mark that our loan for the harvester is all approved and they will transfer directly to the dealership when we need the money to draw down the harvester. We're not going to draw down yet. We're going to wait until we are completely ready to harvest, because there's no point having a piece of machinery sitting there, loan fees increasing and interest on loans building up while we're not actually using the machinery. So we will hold off for the time being, but hopefully maybe later today we might be ready for a harvest. I'm quite liking this dealership, you know. So I rang them up, said, I've got about £8 to spend, I want a very small tractor. What can you do for me? And they said, oh, we've got this, £7.5 we've just had it as a part exchange. It's a Massey Ferguson 133. It's got somewhere in the region of 40 horsepower, a top speed of 16. But it's a nice dinky little tractor, and it will definitely work for us. It will manage with our sprayer, no problem. So I'm going to run this down to the field, and we will get spraying with herbicide. Now, I know when we're a little bit strapped for cash anyway, that this might seem like a futile exercise, spending money. But actually, I was trying to work out some of the maths. So, we will increase our yield by 25% if we put another spray of fertiliser on. We will increase our yield by 20% if we put the herbicide on and get rid of the weeds. Any losses that we make from minor amounts of crop destruction is maybe 5% of our crop. So we've sacrificed 5% to increase our yield by 45%. So overall that's a 40% increase in yield, which obviously it depends how well we yield and how much extra money we make, which obviously we will find out when it comes to harvest. But I personally feel that around about 12,000 that we've spent on equipment, and then probably a little bit more will be spent on the chemicals and what have you. So say for £14,000, if we get a yield increase of 40%, might not be much just on this one field, but across both fields we'll have to do the maths, but we may actually make enough to cover this in the long run. We may make enough to cover this on this harvest. If we don't, we will certainly, over the course of both harvests, we may make enough to cover the costs in this harvest. If we don't, we certainly will with future harvests. So I think this is a worthwhile investment. At the moment, because we're a start-up farm, because we're using Mark's other farm as collateral for the loan, They don't want to loan us big machinery. They don't want to give us machinery on lease deals, really. Odd little bits of small machinery they're fine with, but they'd much prefer us to buy them. So until we're in a position where the farm is turning over a bit more money, what we've got is what we've got, and what we can make money to buy, we can make money to buy. So there might be something in there you can use. I think probably once we've got the money back from this harvest, we will invest in some narrow tyres for this little MISSYB, because that again will help us to increase our yields further, because we won't then have the damage to the crops. Okay, so I've run the herbicide across both fields now, and I'm now coming back. I've swapped over what's in the tank, so we've got liquid fertiliser in the tank now. And I'm running in the same wheel tracks that I left before, which means that we're not going to lose any more crop. So we've got both lots done with only a small amount of crop damage. So as you can see here, this is some of the damage that I did to the crops when I just clipped, it was about half a tyre with the fence. And this is the damage from the MISSYB. So actually, both tyre tracks are less than, if you look at that widest point there, less than one tyre on the fence. So I think actually it was a really good call to spend the money on this. It wouldn't have been worthwhile trying to run that with the Fendt. So this is a really good point to call it quits. I'm hopeful that next time we should be able to get onto a harvest. So I will see you then. Thank you very much for watching. Please jump on the like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Most importantly of all, have a great day.